Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 24 of B-Road Ballers, the review series for Gran Turismo 6's selection of hot hatches, vehicles which provide, in some cases, almost sports car levels of performance in truly practical daily driver packages, and generally for a pretty good price as well. Now in this case, this really is a sports car in a hot hatch's body. It's the Renault Clio V6. It's an icon of the hot hatch world, widely loved, and one of the most exotic hot hatches you can buy. It's in many ways similar to sports cars, or in some cases even supercars. Mid-engine, rear-wheel drive, big, powerful engine for its vehicle type, very low weight, and challenging handling in real life. Evo magazine once said that this car is for people who want to learn how to use a vehicle well, rather than just have something that you can jump in and drive fast. And you can really feel that on the game. It is the case with this car that it is not a beginner-friendly vehicle when fully tuned. That mid-engine rear-wheel drive layout, combined with a very, very short wheelbase and a very wide width in comparison to its wheelbase, and therefore a very wide track, also means that this car is pretty unique in terms of the way that it handles. I've personally always liked the Clio V6. It's not one of my favourite hot hatches, but it's a very easy car to like. What's not to like about it? It's such a crazy concept, and it's kind of surprising to some degree that Renault actually made it into a production car. It seems like the kind of vehicle that a company would make as a joke, but then not actually produce. But then Renault actually did it. They produced the car, and it's no wonder that it became so popular. Now, as far as performance, it's powered by a 3-litre engine, so it's never going to be a slouch. With the full weight loss package, it weighs just under 1,100 kilos, which, considering its engine size, not in capacity but in its actual physical size, that's not too bad. That's a pretty good weight. As far as power though, it's not bad, but it's nowhere near this car's deserved potential. This car produces, in its fully tuned spec on Gran Turismo, 439 horsepower, which is very decent for a hot hatch, don't get me wrong. That does put it on the higher end spectrum of hot hatches on the game, but that's naturally aspirated. There's no turbo or supercharger to help the car unleash its potential, and with that 3-litre V6 engine producing pretty much 440 horsepower without the aid of a turbo or a supercharger, imagine the potential of what this car could actually be running with a turbo. You could easily be pushing well over 500 horsepower. It could be one of the most powerful hot hatches in the game and one of the quickest. As it happens, however, it just doesn't deliver on that potential in terms of straight line performance, and that's a real shame, because this car really deserves, more so really than any other hot hatch in the game that isn't as fast as it should be, to be that fast. This is a car which should pretty much be the second quickest to the HPA Golf. That should be the only car that can outrun this, but unfortunately we're just not allowed to release that potential. Now, as it happens, it's not a bad car by any means. As I mentioned, you're putting out just under 440 horsepower. That's good for a top speed of over 200 miles per hour, as you'd expect. The acceleration is very good, mainly due to the fact that the rear-wheel drive and mid-engine means that most of your weight and grip is over the rear end naturally, which gives you superior launch to, say, a front-wheel drive machine. And it's no slouch. All of that adds up to a quick car. As far as PP, it sits at 522, which is reasonably high, not as high as some others, but I would say in the case of this car that's a pretty good PP, and the main reason is for what I mentioned earlier, the handling. It's not a bad handling car, definitely not, but in the same way as some other vehicles like, say, the Cobra or some Lamborghinis, this is a car which demands respect. You have to know what you're doing, and you have to practice with the car, or at least vehicles like it. And in the case of this car, there aren't really that many vehicles like it apart from the Renault 5 Turbo. in order to learn to get the best out of it, because it's just so unique that driving any other hot hatch just doesn't give you the right feel of how this car's going to perform. If you really want to get an idea of how this car drives without actually driving it, then I'd recommend trying to drive something like a Lotus Elise, because it's very similar. In terms of its competitive potential, well, you don't see that many people using it, which surprises me, to be honest, because it's a fully premium model. It costs 45,000 credits, which for a premium hot hatch of its level is pretty good, and it puts out 402 horsepower per tonne. So I would have thought at least a fair few people would use this car, and although you do see some, you don't see that many. You see far more people driving cars like the Focus ST than this. You see more people driving the Golf than this, and yes, they are quicker cars, but this car really does deserve to be used more. It's such an iconic and highly competitive car. Around the track overall, it is more of a professional driver's car. It's not for beginners, and it's not for people who just want to jump in and drive fast. But that's it for this episode. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.